Hi everyone! I'm back playing with the resin dirty pour technique, and for today's color palette, I'm doing neons. I have here neon pigment powders. These are matte powder pigments. They're not shimmery like mica powders, but just look at how gorgeous and vibrant in your face these colors are. You could probably see these from miles away. Today, I'm going to be pouring from a split cup. It's been a little while since I've used one, so let's get into this. I'm going to be using Let's Resin's epoxy, and today I'm not going to be mixing up as much resin as I have been for my dirty pours. I'm going to mix up 500 milliliters, and it's because it is my first time using these pigment powders all together in one pour. I have a couple of other neon powder sets, and there's one set in particular where they easily blend and get muddy, so I just want to make sure this set doesn't do that as well. Now, before we get too far into this video, I do want to apologize in advance to your eyeballs because since I'm using these vibrant neon colors, there might be points in the video where the colors are going to look super bright and my phone's white balance could have a hard time adjusting to the different colors, so there might be slight discolorations. Anywho, when it comes to the colors I'm using today, I'm going for the full spectrum of neon colors. I'm going to use deep pink, blue, green, lemon, and purple. Oh, I just noticed there's a typo. I'm using purple today. Let me know in the comments what your favorite color palette is. Now, part of the inspiration for today's video comes from my last dirty pour. If you watched it, you know I used shimmery mica powders in that one, and I talked a little bit about the difference between mica powders and pigment powders. Mica powders are shimmery and pearlescent. They have a smooth feel to them, and pigment powders are matte and have a chalky feel. If you've ever played with chalk, you can see the resemblance. I also mentioned what I do to try to avoid my powder pigments from clumping up in resin, so I thought I'd show you what I was meaning in this video. In my experience, powder pigments are more prone to clump up while being mixed into resin than mica powders. So now that I have these powder pigments in my cups, I'm going to take a little bit of 99% isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to put it in my cups and I'm going to mix to dissolve the powders in the alcohol first before putting in my epoxy. If you start doing this resin tip yourself, remember to only add a small amount of alcohol. If you add too much, it can affect the way the resin cures. I'd also recommend working a little fast here because you don't want the alcohol evaporating before you add in your resin. It's a lot easier to mix the pigment into the resin if it's still liquidy. I'm going to dissolve one or two of the pigments with you so you can see, but I will do the rest off camera because in this video, I'm actually going to be doing quite a bit of mixing. I'm mixing these pigments with alcohol, then I'm mixing in the resin with these pigments, and then to thicken up the resin, I'll be mixing the resin with some school glue. And that's not including the initial mix of my epoxy. But at least by the end of this video, my left arm should be pretty buff. Now I'm going to fill up these cups with my epoxy as equally as I can, eyeballing it. I'm probably going to get over 3 ounces of resin in each, and then I'm going to just thoroughly mix these colors up. Anyways, don't these colors just look gorgeous? Out of the 5, I think the deep pink is the brightest. What do you think? I can't remember if I bought these pigments or if they were sent to me, but one thing I'm a little disappointed with them is that you get so much pink in this set. It's a set of 12, but I think there's like 5 different shades of pink. One of them is meant to be a red, but it just looks pink to me. Like, if you really like pink, this set is great for you, but I wish it was a bit more even and you got like 2 shades of each color. I don't know, that's just a little rant. Sorry. As you can see, this resin is now thoroughly mixed. There's no clumpy bits, so now I'm going to go ahead and add the glue to this resin to thicken it up. Again, I'm only going to show you me mixing one or two for time's sake, but just like the isopropyl alcohol, you only want to add a little bit. 1 drop of glue per ounce of epoxy because adding glue to resin does change the consistency quite dramatically. Going back to my last dirty pour video again, if you remember, I mentioned wanting to start a new series where I get requested videos from you guys so I can create and film them. Well, I got a request for a color combination for a dirty pour, and I also got a suggestion about another way in how to thicken up epoxy resin. Now, I won't say how. I'm going to be a little coy here, so you'll have to come back for that dirty pour video, but supposedly it doesn't make epoxy into this slime consistency, so I'm very excited to try that out. So now I'm just pouring this resin into my split cup. I'm not doing it in chronicle order because I am trying to avoid getting orange in this pour. I'm not a huge fan of orange, and when I've used other neon pigments, whenever I put the pink and yellow together, it turns orange so. And yes, I know that red and yellow does make orange. Now I'm going to spray my mold first with a little bit of alcohol to help the resin flow better into the edges. It's meant to help avoid getting air bubbles trapped, and I'm just going to let the resin flow. When it comes to this mold and the other oval tray mold, I will only be doing one pass over with my split cup. These colors are actually a bit transparent, so if I were to layer this resin on top of itself, it would go muddy and I'd lose the beautiful vibrant neon colors. Doing the one pass does also mean that I won't fully fill these molds, but it's okay because I will be pouring a layer of white resin on the backs of these two trays later once this resin has cured up a bit. It's going to make these colors look more opaque and hopefully make them even more vibrant. But I will show you what these colors look like as they are in this jar piece without any of the white. Anyways, I'm really loving how this pour is going so far. The colors look really lovely, and pouring the resin mixed with glue from the split cup actually hasn't been as messy as I thought it would be. To be honest, I mentally prepared myself for a small disaster. Pouring from a split cup can be a little messy from the get-go, and then pairing it with thick slime-like gloopy resin, yeah, I think I dodged a messy bullet here. So now that my molds are filled, I'm actually going to put my molds into my resiner's curing machine to help speed things up. I've mentioned this previously. Adding glue to your epoxy does seem to prolong the curing process, so let's see if this shortens that time, especially since I want to add a white layer to these trays. I'm setting this for 4 hours. As for the temperature, I'll set it to 85°F. It's 11:50 in the morning now, so I'll be back to check it around 4 p.m. Okay, everyone, it's just after 4. The machine is cooling down now, but I can just remove the lid because the lid doesn't lock or anything. Oh, wow! The toothpick isn't leaving a dent. Okay, well, these trays are ready for the white layer of resin. All right, so I've mixed up some more epoxy, and I'm going to use pigment paste to dye this resin white. When it comes to mixing pigment paste in epoxy, the good thing about it is you only need to add a small amount, but it does need a little more elbow grease to mix thoroughly into the resin since it's pretty thick. But whenever I do mix up white resin, I always like using pigment paste because it gives me a nice solid white color. I've used other types of pigments, but to me, they always look like a grayish white, and I don't really like it, and I don't think it looks nice. Now I'm just filling the rest of these molds up, and I will be putting these trays back into the curing machine at the same temperature for another 4 hours, but I won't come back until tomorrow morning to demold them. These pieces are fully cured now, so let's see what we've got here. It's really cool that the curing machine did really speed up the resin's curing process. Now, when it comes to these pieces, I absolutely love the trays. I think they turned out really cool. I actually think I have a dress that looks very similar to this tray. And because of that dress, I'm actually kind of getting tie-dye vibes from it. I'll put a picture of the fabric so you can see what I mean. Do you see it? Now, when it comes to the jar piece, I'm not going to lie, I'm disappointed. I don't know if I needed to add more pigment to my resin or if it's just that these pigments are like this, but because it's somewhat transparent, I've lost the vibrancy of the neon colors and they kind of look a little muddy. It also makes it really easy to see all the air bubbles that got trapped, which is a shame. But you can see the difference adding the white layer made. It really made these neon colors pop. As for the oval tray, it's my favorite piece out of the three. Again, I'm just getting tie-dye vibes from it. The way the colors swirled, it's just chef's kiss. You'll have to let me know which piece is your favorite. And for a little bonus, I actually managed to make one more resin tray out of the leftover resin, which also turned out amazing. I didn't film it because I thought I didn't actually have enough resin, so I poured the resin into a damaged mold. That's why there's the markings, but I think this resin neon pour was a success, even though I'm not thrilled about the jar piece. And there you have it, my friends. I did go ahead and top coat the oval trays on my own. I also added some vinyl to the tray that had the markings to mask them, but what do we all think? As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you've learned something. If you did, then please smash the like button. If you'd like to see other resin techniques I've tried, then be sure to check out one of these videos next. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!